there are organizations, Buddhist organizations who give ordination, and not only give ordination, but also wear Buddhist ordained the robes. Now here directly what I'm talking about is New Kadampa Tradition, the NKT. So that's why this recording is for that purpose. Now what I want to say here is I received a transcript of lecture talk given by Kelsang Gyatso in July, the 2nd of July 1999, and the talk is the title of the talk is this: a talk at the ordination ceremony. I was given this transcript by an ex-NKT nun in 2001 after she left NKT, and confused because she had received this ordination from Kelsang Gyatso, but when she come out from the organization, she wasn't sure whether she had received really ordination or not, because she found out there are the very different sort of the vows that she had received, and she came to see me to clarify what's really whether she had received ordination or not. Then I said, I really don't know, because I haven't seen NKT's ordination rites, how they perform, and she gave me this paper. That is 2001, and the talk given by, saying here, by Venerable Geshe Gyatso, place Kadampa Buddhist Temple, Manjushri Mahayana Buddhist Center, 2nd of July 1999. She gave me this 2001. So when I went through this transcript, and it was bluntly clear, Kelsang Gyatso does not want to follow, the Tibetan Buddhist, the ordination traditions, and I respect his decision. If he wants to not to follow, that's his decision. But what I want to make here some few important points to make clear is this: in this talk, in the transcript, page 3, first I'll quote. Now, traditionally, Tibetan Buddhism follows the Vinaya Sutra, which belongs to Hinayana tradition. Personally, I find this strange. We are Mahayana Buddhist, so why are we following Vinaya? And this statement really puzzles me, really, makes me to think what he's really talking about, because this statement directly contradicts Tsongkhapa's, teachings. I'm saying Tsongkhapa. I'm not saying only Tsongkhapa, but I'm here making Tsongkhapa quotation because Kelsang Gyatso claims he follows Tsongkhapa's tradition very purely, very precisely. These are his own words. So that's why I'm quoting Tsongkhapa. So what Tsongkhapa said in his Lamrim, in his text, which first I want to make quotation from again in this first volume, if you are interested to read, Tsongkhapa's Art of 18, the first volume, and this is the text. In Tibetan it says Changchuk Sembe Tsudim Ki Namsha, Changchuk Shunglam Shukso, and in English, Basic Path to Awakening, and it is translated, but I haven't got the English translation with me here. Now in here, Tsongkhapa made extremely clear. So I'll read this first in Tibetan. Some of may understand understand Tibetan. So Tsongkhapa said this. This is in this book I'm reading, published in Tibet. There is a whole set of Tsongkhapas, 18 volumes, printed in Tibet, and I got this from Tibet. So page 421. So first I will read this in Tibetan, then I will give you brief English, my translation. Temeba kachik nare, rangdungi samba malong na changsemgi tomba mejewe cher kewe gekin la. Changsemgi domdengi rangdungi samba tena domba de nyambar kewe cher nebe gekso shesero. That is what Tsongkhapa is, raising other people's, what you call some kind of questions, some questions related to people are thinking, that if you have a what you call self-centered mind, that self-centered mind is obstacle to generate bodhicitta. If you have a self-centered mind, if self-centered mind occurs while you have bodhicitta, it is the cause for degeneration of your bodhicitta. And because of that kind of dilemma, then some people have this misunderstanding. Now, this is Tsongkhapa's answer, which I'll read in Tibetan. Sodargi dombatang Tengmengi sambanigi kyabar machebe tuwa de. So what Tsongkhapa is saying here, people who do not understand, people who cannot differentiate Sodargi Domba, the bhikshus and bhikshunis, ordination, or the vows, or the precepts, and the Tengmengi Samba, the individual liberation seeker's mind. People who cannot differentiate these two, then they have this problem. For me, here, the Kelsang Gyatso had that problem. For Kelsang Gyatso, if it is the Vinaya Sutra, if it is in teachings taught in the Vinaya, then it must be the just individual liberation seekers Hinayana thought. And that is, Tsongkhapa said, it is not. He said, Sodargi Dombatang Tengmengi Sambanigi Kyabar Machibe Tuade. The mistaken arises due to unable to differentiate these two. In the what you call the bhikshus and the bhikshunis, the vows, and the individual liberation seekers thought. These two are different, what Tsongkhapa is saying, and should look at that one. And more serious, which I want to make here related to that, is again from Tsongkhapa's the text, that is Lamrim Chemo, which Kelsang Gyatso says quite often says it is great. He is right. Really, really important text in general, and particularly people who follow Tsongkhapa's tradition. Now, in this text, now it is very, very abundantly clear. If you have access to this book, that is Tsongkhapa's translation of Tsongkhapa's great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, and it is in the first volume. There are 3 volumes in English in the first volume, and in the first volume, page 47, this is what Tsongkhapa said after quotation from Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. He says this: thus, it is contradictory to propound that you should not train in the scripture of collections of Hinayana because you are Mahayana practitioner. That is exactly contradicts what Kelsang Gyatso has said in this lecture. I will repeat again his quotation. He said this: traditionally, Tibetan Buddhism follows the Vinaya Sutra, which belongs to the Hinayana tradition. Personally, I find this strange. We are Mahayana Buddhists. Why? So we Mahayana Buddhists. So why we are following the Vinaya, the perfection, Bhakti-moksha vows? And here Tsongkhapa said very clearly, as I said earlier. I repeat again. He said, thus it is contradictory to propound that you should not train in the scripture collections of Hinayana because you are Mahayana practitioner. Tsongkhapa said that's wrong, and Kelsang Gyatso should think about that. And following, there are several the pages which continue in this Tsongkhapa's saying important people who are training in the Bodhisattva path, important to train, study, learn, meditate the teachings given in the the Theravadan teachings, or here called the Hinayana teachings, which I want to read again briefly. Tsongkhapa's Tsongkhapa's what Tsongkhapa said in here. This is page 49. If you do not gain such an understanding, then each time you gain what seems to be an understanding of an isolated teachings, you will abandon other teachings. So what Tsongkhapa is saying here, just simply selecting few teachings from here and there, isolated, selecting from here and there, then abandoning, entire, like saying the Hinayana teaching, we shouldn't be studying, following, that is, mistake. That's what Tsongkhapa says. When you develop supposed interest in higher vehicles, you will abandon in succession of scripture collection of Hinayana and perfection vehicle. What he's saying is, people who train in the Mahayana, then saying Hinayana is not, we don't need to train. People who are trained in the Vajrayana, Tantrayana, then say we don't need to train Hinayana and the teachings and Bodhisattva and the teachings, Perfection Wisdom Sutra. That is wrong, and that is clearly mentioned in page 49. So I'll, the people who are really interested. Now another quotation which I want to make here is, again, this is because relevant to what Kelsang Gyatso claims they follow Kadampa tradition and Atisha's tradition. If they follow purely, clearly, I have no argument. Great. But here again I see one big contradiction. Just I read from his talk, and this contradiction comes from Atisha. So I will read this again. Tsongkhapa made this quotation in Atisha, page 49. It says this: precious teacher Domtamba said. So this is Tsongkhapa making quotation from Domtamba. Domtamba said, my guru, Atisha in the bracket, which is not in Tibetan, it's put in English. My guru, Atisha, is one who knows how to bring all the teachings within a four-sided path. That's what, then Tsongkhapa said, these words are very meaningful. So what Tsongkhapa is saying is, the Domtamba make this quotation. The quotation Domtamba said, his teacher Atisha, is the person who is able to bring all the teachings of the Buddha. Not saying this is Hinayana, we are following Mahayana practitioner, we don't need to. Don't need to feel strange what Kelsang Gyatso said. Shouldn't do that. We should bring together. So that is also very important to really to remember with that. Another very direct quotation from Tsongkhapa in Lamrim, again same first volume, page 339, quote, "Therefore, you should respect vows of individual liberation, the root of the teaching." That's what Tsongkhapa says. Tsongkhapa says, the Vinaya Sutra comes from Vinaya Sutra. Those teachings are the root of the Buddha's teachings. Therefore, we should, hold very dear, not to dismiss, saying this comes from Hinayana. And that's one, page 339. It is very clear. There are further, because of the time, there are further, page 347, many Kadampa masters, Kamlungpa, Sharawa, Domtamba, Atisha, they all says the Vinaya Sutras, are the core teachings of the Buddha, should not be dismissed, simply saying we are the Mahayana practitioner. So people who have access to this book, you should read that. And then this one is directly related to saying the Tsongkhapa's second volume. This comes from directly related to the practicing ethics. In the second volume, where Tsongkhapa taught the 6 perfections, out of the 6 perfections, second perfection is perfection of ethics. And in that section, and again, it is very clearly related to what Kelsang Gyatso had said here, a very clear contradiction with the Tsongkhapa's words. So Tsongkhapa page, this is volume 2, page 149. Tsongkhapa says this: "Therefore, since the rules of the vows of the individual liberation, that is the Vinaya Sutra, monks and nuns, the ordination, individual liberation are one aspect of the precepts for renunciate who have taken the Bodhisattva vows." So now here, people who have taken the Bodhisattva vows, what Tsongkhapa said here is people who have taken the Bodhisattva vows, people who follow the Bodhisattva and the teachings, individual, the liberation, vows of the individual liberation, that is the vows comes from Vinaya Sutras, are the main part of their practice. And that's what Tsongkhapa said very clearly. And the same sort of point again Tsongkhapa made more clear, page 149. "If you think the vows of individual liberation are the sarvaska, that is Hinayana, and if you cast aside their prescriptive and the prescriptive and prescribed rules, and say there are other precepts." So that's what Tsongkhapa said. If you cast aside the vows that are given in the Vinaya Sutra, because you're taking the Bodhisattva vows, it is wrong. That's what Tsongkhapa said. It says, I will read this very clearly to train in. "Then you have grasped the key point of the Bodhisattva training in ethical discipline. For it is often said that ethical discipline of restraint is the basis and source of next two types of ethical discipline. That means 3 disciplines. Monastic discipline, that is monks and nuns, taking, and also lay people taking the vows, comes from the Vinaya Sutra, which Kelsang Gyatso dismissed as a Hinayana, and the Bodhisattva ethics and the Tantra ethics. All 3 should be follow. The people who are should not sort of discard or should not dismiss one vows because you are taking another vows. So that is what Tsongkhapa said. So these are really something which should be considered very, very seriously, about the statement that what Kelsang Gyatso have said. Now this part of the thing which I want to conclude is just one sort of kind of curiosity. And the curiosity comes from this. And again, I'm reading from Kelsang Gyatso's talk, transcript, page 4. Geshe Podowa would often say that his ordination master was Trungpa. Superficially, it was incorrect. Then continues. I will not read all. Now, what Kelsang Gyatso have said here, he follows Kadampa master's ordination, and that ordination comes from Podowa, Geshe Podowa. I would really, really like to see that source. Which text? Which page? I have asked, and I myself have searched, really Geshe Podowa have that kind of ordination tradition, and also I asked other people, nobody has, have found this source, and I would like to see that source.